I definitely like the new message better for the recording in progress. The other one always was filled my screen. I had to scroll down to hit OK. How's everybody doing today?
Pretty
Okay.
good.
Pretty good. I ran over to Aldi. I usually have plenty of time to get back, but the computers were down. And I was one of the very few that had money. Nobody could check out because nobody had any money. They were taking cash, but the terminals are all down. So
Yeah. I always love it when people talk about they're going to get rid of paper currency and go all digital.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
no.
Well, today we're dealing with just general questions. Move on. It's a new year. Tried to make a little new look to our screen there. So today we're going to be dealing with just some prepared questions we've gotten sent in, and then we'll have a general Q&A at the end. We'd welcome everybody. Do we have any guests today? We had somebody that contacted me. I don't think she made it in here. I had somebody that emailed me about the meeting, and I gave her the link, but it doesn't look like she made it in yet. Hopefully she'll pop in before we're done. Our steering committee is the ones responsible for the direction of our club. We definitely want anybody and everybody to contact any member on here with any suggestions, any questions, any desires, any ideas, things you want to see, things you want to do, things you want to present. Do not be afraid to come up with ideas for presentations, whether you want to present it yourself or not. We have plenty of people that are more than happy to do the presentations if you have an idea of something you want to see more about. So many possibilities, and sometimes we go a little high end on you, and sometimes you want to know just the basics. Let us know that. We will fill whatever needs we can. And these are the people that you can talk to. Matt Canizio. David Day isn't here today. David also one of our steering committee. Terry Morrows.
Morning.
Welcome back, Terry.
Thank
We
you.
missed you. Marguerite Peterson. Ed Sheeran.
All right, bye.
I don't think Jan's here. Jan Sparks. I'm George Wagner. And Bob Wilkerson. So any of these people, you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please direct them to any one of us or to sc@transylvaniamug.org. We can address those issues for you. So we're going to start with some prepared questions. We had mentioned in the email that we wanted to get some questions ahead of time. And so I've got those up here. We're going to address those first, and then we'll get to some general ones at the end. All right, so first question we had. Well,
That's you, George?
That's me.
All right. I thought it was me because of the updates.
No. Regretfully, I have a different machine I'm working on. It didn't have the new version of Keynote, so I'm running this actually from the web, which normally works pretty well, but today it decided to give us a little bit of grief. That is one nice thing is in a pinch here, I just logged into my iCloud account and I can run Keynote and pages and numbers right from the web apps. What's nice about this also is this works whether you're working on a Mac or a Windows machine. You can basically log in on a Windows machine and still run your Keynote presentation. But it's just going to be a pain.
It's on the same servers as Aldi.
Let's see if I can get this. start from there.
George's cursor looks like a dot on my screen. I've been trying to wipe it off, but it won't go anywhere.
Okay, well, we'll do this a little differently then. We're gonna do this a low tech route and not have all the nice little transitions. Always takes longer when I watch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that, there we go. So our first question, the messages app and icon has disappeared from the computer. It's not in their dock, it's not in their applications folder. And since messages is one of the standard apps, it's installed during the installation. It's not in the app store. So there are a couple of options. You can, if you have a time machine backup, side note, if you don't have a time machine backup, please set one up. External hard drives are fairly inexpensive. You can find one for under $100,
Yep.
significant size, plug it in. First thing the computer will ask you is, do you want to use it for time machine backup? You say yes, you let it reformat it, set it up, do the backup, leave it plugged in, and you never have to think about it again unless there's a problem, and it will let you know. It is the cheapest way to protect your information. If you lose information, you have to call someone like me to come in and fix it. You're going to spend more on my time than that hard drive cost you. So please, if you have any questions, ask me, ask Terry, ask anybody in the group. We can walk you through the steps. It's very simple to do. All right, I'll get off my soapbox then. So if you have a time machine backup, easiest thing, go into the time machine backup, look in the applications folder, and just go back in dates until you see the messages app. Click on the messages app, hit the restore button, and it will bring it back and put it into the computer. Okay. If you don't have a time machine backup, you can, if you know somebody who has the same operating system that you're running, basically you can have that messages app put it on a flash drive, put it on your computer, or there are ways to send it electronically over the Dropbox and iCloud drive if you want as well. That messages app is you just plop it right on in the applications folder, and it'll work fine. If neither of those two options are available to you, you can restart the computer in recovery mode, in which you hold the command key and the R key right as you turn it on, until you see the Apple icon and the little progress bar. Then you can let go and wait. It will go into recovery mode. Recovery mode, one of the options is reinstall the operating system. Reinstalling the operating system does not erase the computer, does not touch your data at all. Your home folder is separate portion of it, not even involved in this process at all. So all it does is reinstall the operating system and all the applications that are part of that basic installation. Any third-party applications should remain untouched. Okay. So it sounds scary, but it's really the way Apple does it. It's very well done. It is very surgical. It doesn't affect anything other than what it needs to affect. So those are your three options. I started with the easiest one and then moved to the most involved one. But
George, what do you think happened to cause it?
I mean, it's possible that somebody deleted it. Now, to delete one of those apps, you do have to put in your administrative password.
Right.
So most likely it was the process that they were doing was something else, and maybe had that selected as well, and when it got deleted. But that's the most likely culprit. Or you've got I mean, it's possible you've got kids around the house that are playing with the computer, but unless they know the administrative password, they should not be able to delete those apps. Command and the R key R is in Roger, or recovery. You hold those two keys down at startup, it will go into recovery mode. Every Mac, when Apple got rid of the optical drive, you needed a way to recover the machine if something went wrong. Since you can't boot from a DVD anymore, they basically included the recovery. It's a little partition that's hidden in the computer, that's separate from your hard drive. It's actually part of your hard drive, but separate from the volume that is your computer. That's something you can boot from, and it has a series of utilities for diagnostics, repair, and for reinstallation.
George, one addendum to that. When we
Yes.
were working on Marguerite's computer, the Command R does not work anymore with the M2 chips.
Oh,
Then-
right. Then with the new M series, you just hold the power key down
Right.
until you get the option for advanced options. Yeah.
Right.
Also on the, I'm not sure how to do it on the M series, but there's also a net boot recovery. If for some reason your machine does not have the recovery partition, if you hold down the option key with the Command R, so option, Command, and R together, it goes out to the Apple servers, downloads over the internet a bootable system, boots the recovery so that you can then do that.
Mhm.
There's also a difference in the two. The built-in recovery will reinstall the operating system that came with the machine. The net boot or internet recovery will install the highest operating system that machine can run.
Heck, yeah.
So that is a little different. Sometimes you want the original, sometimes you want the newest, or sometimes it doesn't matter. If you have the original, you can always upgrade to the newest, but it just adds more time to it. But I've had a couple situations where the built-in couldn't install the operating system anymore because the servers that Apple had those files on was no longer around. Apple has moved, is taking those off the server. So I needed to go to the newer version. All right. While we're on this, any insight questions that are around this topic?
The only thing I would say is the problem we were having with Marguerite's computer with Sonoma was we couldn't put it down and we couldn't figure out on the internet what the problem was, but it seemed like it was Finder and that some icons were either missing or you could click on them and they didn't do anything. So I'm not saying that this is in the same realm, but that was something similar, to not being able to run Messenger because we could never get it to activate.
Yeah,
And
well, she
we
said
just never.
the app isn't even there.
Right. But it did require reinstalling the whole operating system to fix it. So it's the worst of the three options that you had, but it did fix it.
Yeah. And the nice thing is that even the worst option, it's not that difficult. It just takes a little time. Apple made it very, very easy to do, which is their specialty. All right, next question. Mac Pro had a screen freeze. Said nothing would change the current screen. She quit using it, went back a couple weeks later. It works okay. Basically, when the computer freezes, if you hold down the power key until it turns off, generally about 8 to 10 seconds, release the power key and then press it normally and reboot it, it should be fine. But if it caused it to freeze, most likely it was a temporary thing. If it freezes when you come back, that's when you want to go into recovery mode and run the disk first aid. Then you go into disk utility and run first aid. Most of the time that will address any of the issues that are going to. Again, worst case scenario, reinstalling the operating system will basically put everything back to its original state as far as the operating system goes. One thing you can try is if you hold down the shift key at boot, that puts you in what's called safe boot. It only loads the Apple's base operating system, no extensions. If everything works fine with that, then that tells you that it's one of the third-party apps that you've added is causing some conflict. If that's the case, sometimes you probably want to bring somebody in who knows a little bit more. Terry, David, or myself, or Kevin, all have that kind of background. So if you kind of feel overwhelmed, just contact somebody that can help you with that. But like I said, more than likely, if it restarts and everything's fine, it was just a memory error. Something got into one of the buffers, so don't worry too much about it. All right, next question. And Terry just put in the M1 chips. You just hold the power when you turn the machine on. Just don't let go of the power button for about 10 seconds, and it will give you the option to go into the recovery tools.
Hmm.
All right, next question. Actually, kind of wasn't questions. It was more of a comment on one of the questions, but I wanted to bring it up because it's important. Apple Care is good until April 24th, 2024. Should I take it back to the Apple Store in Atlanta? Well, first of all, if you're having an issue with software, first call Apple under the Apple Care. If you've got the free support, take advantage of it. If they can't help you over the phone, taking it in the store is definitely an option. It's since you're covered. Since it's in Atlanta, if you're not close to it, there are some local places that can do Apple support. They will honor Apple Care. They're an Apple authorized dealer. They will honor Apple Care. Basically, they just they do the work, then they put a form into Apple and they get paid from Apple for it. So don't think you have to go to an Apple store. Any Apple authorized dealer can help you. So some of those are a little closer than Atlanta or Greenville or Charlotte. There's no Apple stores in the area. Okay. MacBook Pro 2015 is too old to update. It is a security risk if it will not update to 12 from 12.6.9. Basically, Apple, if it's a major security thing, Apple will usually support the operating systems for several versions back with updates. And most likely, if it's a very old one, most people aren't writing updates for those because it's not a big enough target market. So once a year. But I have machines running El Capitan. Okay, so I've got a variety of them that are running older versions of operating systems, and it's really not a security risk. If you're concerned, add virus malware checker, which is probably a good idea anyways. But those will continue to be updated as long as they're supported on the platform you're running. So that will give you a little more peace of mind. Macs are not immune from viruses and malware. They're just not as big of a target. So it's one of those things that you may never need it, but the peace of mind of having it is definitely worth the investment. Also, while you may not see too many Mac-specific viruses, as a Mac user, you will get emails and files from people who have Windows machines. Those files could have a Windows virus, and while it won't affect you personally, if you pass that file on to somebody else who does have a Windows machine, you're going to be the typhoid Mary of your Windows friends. So, there's that too. Any Mac virus and malware checker will check for Mac and Windows viruses. So we'll clean off anything that it finds. All right. Of two Macs, iPod, iPhone, can I get all my stuff to sync? Text, pictures, messages, emails. How do I do that? All of that is done through Apple's ID. The iCloud basically syncs all your contacts, calendar, reminders, your photos, if you've got the photo library option turned on. Text messages are a little different. If you turn messages on in the cloud, it will eat up a lot of space. I will tell you that right off the bat. But basically, then your messages are available even if you log into iCloud.com on any machine. But that is going to deal with Apple's iMessages. For non-Apple messages, which are going to running on the SMS, MMS platform, what you can do is on your phone, which is the only device that can actually get the messages, or a cellular option on a iPad, you need to tell the phone to pass those messages along to your other devices. If you go into settings, go down to messages, scroll down a little bit, you'll see text message forwarding. Go in there, any of your devices that logged into your Apple ID will appear in that list, and you can say, turn them on for all those, and any text messages that you get will be passed along to all those devices. Those devices can also then respond, and then it will go through the phone back to the person you need to go to.
Oh, okay.
So basically, for all intent and purposes, from your end, it looks like your computer is getting SMS messages directly, and it's just doing it through the phone. It's actually pretty smooth. I've done it for a long time. If your phone is near your devices when it gets an SMS message, it will be sent to it right away. If it's not, I think when the phone comes back, it will catch up. So if for some reason your phone is not in the same house as your computer, the computer won't have all the SMS messages updated.
Yeah, George, but you do have to set those on each individual device, right?
No.
So,
It's actually from the phone. The phone sends it. So basically, as long as they're logged into the Apple ID, when you go to settings on your phone, messages,
right.
scroll down to text message forwarding, you will see all those devices, and you can on each just check it off on each device you want to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you want to do messages in the cloud, that needs to be turned on each device in the iCloud settings. And while that can be handy, I didn't find it all that helpful because all my messages were on all my devices to begin with. And I really didn't need it in the cloud. And I noticed that it was eating up a lot of space because people send you lots of memes, and they fill up a lot of space of your iCloud space very quickly. So, and then as far as emails go, emails basically are already syncing if they are an IMAP, Google or iCloud account, because that's what they're designed to do. The only exception to that is POP accounts. If you've set your email up as a POP account, POP, it will not synchronize. And again, that's by design. POP accounts are not designed to be more for one device at a time. And POP was the original way. As people had one device at that time, it was no big deal. Now people have 3, 4, 5 devices, so they need to be synchronized. So if I send something, I want all of them to know I sent it. So as long as you've got them set up as IMAP accounts, or if it's an iCloud or a Google account, those all will synchronize. If they're not, make sure that they're logged in. Sometimes what will happen is all these will periodically just check and verify the login. If for some reason there was some hiccup, your internet was down or it couldn't get through, and it didn't successfully do that, it's no longer talking to the server to be able to update. Usually it'll prompt you, but I've seen it a couple times where it's just sitting there not doing anything until I try to do something, and then it prompts me. But for the longest time, it's sitting there not getting messages, and I don't realize that I don't have updating messages. Or I'll notice on my phone I've got messages that aren't on my computer. That's because the computer is waiting for the password, and I don't realize it. So if they're not syncing up, just make sure that they're all logged in successfully. On the computer, if you go into the mail program, under the window menu, there's a connection doctor. If you bring that up, it will go through and check each account that you've got set up to make sure that it's successfully connecting to the incoming and outgoing mail servers. If you get all green dots down the line, everything's good. You get a red dot, you double click on that one, and it'll come up with what the issue is, which is 9 times out of 10 that it needs the password. That takes care of that. Oh, and a side note, despite Google's implication, if you have a Gmail account, or for that matter, Yahoo or Hotmail or any other account, all those accounts are able to be used through Apple's mail program. You don't have to have the Google Mail program for your Gmail account. For me, I like having one app that has everything as opposed to jumping to one app for this account, one app for that account, one app for that. This way, I can look at all my email in one app. So if you have a Gmail account and you're currently using the Gmail app for that, and you also have another account that you're using the Mail app for, you don't need to do that. You can combine them and have it all in one app. If all you're doing is the Gmail mail and you have the Gmail app, that's fine. You can stick with it. But if you're jumping around to check your mail in more than one place, you can all that can be done in the mail app. Makes it a lot easier. All right, I think we took care of all those questions. All right, this next one's a long one.
Oh, man.
Inbox has up to 5,600 emails. Getting warnings are up to 90% of my allocation. When I peruse the new messages, most of them I leave because they're not worth looking at. Flag some, have numerous folders and rules for those I want to keep, at least for a while. Is there a way to sort the inbox so I can just also delete it? In the email, I know Marguerite answered this. This is one of the techniques I use as well. If you sort your messages from all the messages from a certain location are all going to be grouped together. And a lot of times those are the ones you want to get rid of if you're coming from, Amazon. You have 75 emails from Amazon. If you sort them, they're all together. You click on the first one, shift click on the last one, delete. Now, that being said, if those are emails that you never want to see anymore again, mark them as junk. Marking them as junk helps the computer learn more and more of what emails are spam and automatically puts them in the junk folder rather than in your inbox. As far as folders go, the thing there is if you create a folder in the mail account, it is still on the mail server eating up your space. Okay. If you need to see those emails on all your devices, that's where they need to be. But if you have some that you want to keep for archival purposes, or maybe just in case you're not really going to access them from all your machines, then create the folder on my Mac section. That means it's just on that computer. If you move an email from the inbox into that folder, it removes it from the server, but you still have a copy on your computer. It will no longer be available to you on your other devices, but you'll have a copy on the computer. So that's a way of keeping emails, but removing them from the server so that you're not running out of space. If you are getting a lot of emails that you find yourself just deleting right off the bat, if it's something you subscribe to, unsubscribe. However, if you did not subscribe to it, don't unsubscribe. If it's spam, mark it as spam. Because if you take a spam that has an unsubscribe option and you unsubscribe, what you're actually doing is letting the spammers know that that email address is a valid email address. You will more than likely get more spam. Okay. So if it's a brick and mortar, like Kohl's, and you know it's coming from Kohl's, you can unsubscribe safely. If you subscribe to it, you can unsubscribe safely. But if you're unsure, just mark it as spam. All right. Any questions on that? Because that's a pretty involved one, but one would probably deal with a lot.
George, on the newer systems, if you right click the address of the sender, one of the options is to block it. And once I block those, then I send them to junk anyway. And that's a double whammy, and they never reappear except in junk from then on.
Yeah. If it's true spam, if it's coming from the same vendor all the time, that works great. If it's a true spammer, each email account, each one you get is coming from a different email account, and you're going to end up blocking a lot of senders and it's not going to have much effect. So if you see that you have a bunch coming from the same email address, then definitely block the email address.
George?
But, yeah.
If I sort by from and have in that group some flagged ones, is there a way to keep from dropping them out?
Yeah, basically it's only going to delete what's highlighted. So what you can do is you can click on the first one. If most of them are not flagged, click on the first one, shift click on the last one to highlight them all, and then hold the command key down and deselect the ones you want to keep.
Okay, but that's a manual process.
Yeah.
there's not a way to use the flag to accomplish that.
Well, you could sort by flags status.
Hmm.
And then all your flagged ones will be grouped together and all your unflagged ones. But the problem there is that the unflagged ones will all be sorted by the date they came in, most likely, or alphabetical, not by who they're from.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Huh.
So here, basically, Norton and McAfee notify viruses about every 10 seconds. They'll get notifications. So you've got two possibilities here. I think with McAfee, I'm not sure about Norton. McAfee has its own internal notification thing. So you need to go into McAfee and go into the settings, and you can turn off the notifications in there or reduce them to only notify you of major issues, not every issue. Norton, it may be the same thing. If not, go into the Apple menu, settings, notifications, and find Norton and the McAfee in the list and just turn notifications off.
George, I don't have Norton or McAfee, and I don't find them in the notifications list.
Okay.
You want
It's,
something to drink?
it's possible that you're getting either pop-up ads or that you were
Put in there.
Little bit of
I don't-
half and half and a lot of coffee.
it's also possible that you were at a web page and it came up and said, "Hey, do you want to be notified of this?" And you said yes. So in Safari, you have a option. Find out where it is real quick here. Thing in the new version, sorry, if you go into the settings, you have notification section, and that will show you websites that are notifying you. Make sure it's not in there.
Okay, again, where was it?
In Safari,
Okay,
what is this? What browser do you use? Safari, the browser you're using?
most of the time I use Firefox.
Okay, then go to Firefox, go into the settings, and it should have a similar thing for notifications from the websites. And it will show you which websites are sending it. Generally, when you get a message about a website notifying you of something, I recommend you say no. Most of the time, you know that's not really where the notifications come
That's
from.
yeah, that's what I usually do too. And I think it was an email that caught me and I inadvertently clicked on send me notifications.
Check also in your if you go into settings in your login items. Make sure that nothing is loading in there that you're not familiar with.
Okay,
So you go into your users and groups. And under your user, there's a login items. And login items will show you those things that launch automatically at startup. And
okay,
if you look at that and you say, I have no idea what those are, then you probably don't need them.
okay,
If especially if you see something that says Norton or McAfee.
gotcha.
Do these messages come up when you're in Firefox mostly?
They're constant and everywhere. They're-
Make a considered effort to quit Firefox and make note if the messages still pop up.
Okay,
Firefox may be in the background. It's possible that you may need to add a ad blocker to your Firefox
okay,
that blocks pop-up ads. So, but I think we should have covered one of those. We should catch wherever it's coming from. If you're still having trouble, probably want to have someone take a look at the system and try to track down where it's coming from.
okay.
Those are the most obvious things that I can do. Anybody else think of any other options? Terry?
The only thing I can think of is it could be a browser extension.
Yeah.
And it's possible because that's a really good place for them to hide that kind of stuff. Go through your extensions and see if there's anything that either looks suspicious or something that you don't use and get rid of it. Just turn it off and see if that improves things.
That would also
Okay.
be in the browser preferences or settings.
Hey, listen, you gurus, you assume that we know what extensions are acceptable and which ones are fake. You're over our head here. You know that, don't you?
Well, basically, if you didn't put it on, it shouldn't be there.
I do things and the computer does things and I don't know what it does and I trust it. Now you're telling me to look for suspicious extensions. I haven't the foggiest idea what a suspicious extension is.
Extensions are going to be something that you would have had to go through an installation on within the browser. So you would have known you put an extension in. So if you see extensions in there, just turn them off. And the thing is, if you turn them off,
It's college
still-
walk. I have a memory problem.
well, here's the thing. If you turn them off, don't necessarily delete them right off the bat. If you turn them off, and all of a sudden something that you used to having isn't there, go back in there and turn it back on.
Whoop-de-doo.
And again, you can always talk to one of us and we can check it out and see what extensions are there and say, this extension does this. Is that what you want? And you can say, yes.
Is there a way to find out what is a good extension and what is not?
Well, generally, if you click on the extension in the extension section of the settings, it should give you a little brief description of what it is
Okay.
and what it does.
Right.
And if
It'll
you say,
also, yeah, it'll also tell you how many users are using it. So if you see one that's being used by hundreds of thousands of people, you're pretty good that it'll be safe.
if it's just you and one other person, then you're probably not. All right. Oops, wish we did that one already. Okay. All right. So those were our pre meeting questions. And now we're going to open this up for just general Q&A. And I'm going to turn off the sharing so we can see each other's faces now. Okay. So anybody have some questions for us?
Got a question.
Go ahead.
Just a couple days ago, my wife was going to the UNC Health website, and she had been using her, her finger to do the password, and it didn't accept. So I showed her how to go into the settings and copy and paste the password. Well, then when she left the computer and came back on, and then she couldn't turn on the computer with the fingerprint either. So I'm wondering, does a fingerprint or biometric on your keyboard ever get corrupted or go bad and have to be deleted and reset?
I've seen where the fingerprint sometimes stops working for people. I'm not sure what exactly causes it. There's two things. One is when you set up the fingerprint, most people make the mistake of trying to be very careful during the setup. That is the absolute opposite of what you want. During the setup, you want to be sloppy. You want it to start at the one edge of the finger, the other edge of the finger, the tip, towards the knuckle. You want it to have to work really hard to find all the information it needs. So that when you go to use it, it has more information than it needs, so it's more likely to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
The more careful you are during the setup, the more careful you have to be when you use it, placing it just in the right spot. The second thing is if you go into the Touch ID section after you've done a fingerprint, you put your finger over the sensor, and if it recognizes it, it will light up the name of that finger.
Right.
And what I found is also if you do it and it works, and then you do it in another area and it doesn't work, it will start adding more information about that finger as you move it around and try to get it to do it. So then it will pick up extra information. But during the setup, that's the biggest time to actually make it have to learn as much about that fingerprint as possible.
Well, I helped her set that up a year and a half ago, and it's been working fine up until about 3 days ago.
It's possible that something got corrupted. It's possible that the sensor, maybe I don't know if you have a little soft cloth, maybe wipe the sensor off, see if that helps. Maybe there's some dirt on the sensor.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, she usually was putting her finger, like when I do use it, I just lightly touch the imprint. Where she was having a tendency to put her finger on and push down until it clicks. I told her, just try doing a softer touch.
You don't want to click the button because that sometimes tells the computer, okay. It's like clicking on the mouse, but don't actually click it. Just touch the sensor with your finger, and that's all you need to do. Don't even need to put any pressure on it. But like I said, it is an optical sensor, so it is possible that if there's some dirt on there, it's messing up the ability for it to recognize the finger.
So how do I mean, try to clean the sensor pad?
Yeah. Just take a soft cloth, maybe if you need a little moisture to it, but never spray the button. Spray your cloth or your towel, and then wipe it down.
Okay, which I spray with.
Glass cleaner.
Or what?
Glass cleaner is fine. Windex or eyeglass cleaner or something. And if you have a nice soft chamois cloth, those are always really good for those.
All right, but if that doesn't work, maybe go back and reset the fingerprint.
Yeah, just redo the fingerprint. That should solve it. And like I said,
Okay.
be as sloppy as you can be during the setup. It will actually take longer to set it up than it probably did before. That's a good sign. That means it's having to put more of the little pieces that you're giving it together before it finds a complete workable image.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I don't think I was very surprised when I saw that.
Any other questions?
Well, I've got a complaint.
Okay.
Terry has tried to work this out. I obviously am on Sonoma updated with a mini Mac, Mac Mini. Well, first of all, somebody sent me the Jackie Lawson Advent Calendar. I went in sort of mid-month December, and it said there's an update. So I said update it, and it says you don't have administrative permission. Terry has checked my computer time and again. I am the administrator. And the other problem along the line of administrator I'm having is if I take a document, and I do this a lot, I take a document and I need a newer copy of it. So I duplicate the original, close the original, I don't want to lose it. And it tells me that I don't have the administrative authority to save the copy. Now, once I rename the copy, obviously it's a new copy and I don't have that problem. But where do we look to find out why this thing doesn't think I'm the administrator, even though I'm shown as the administrator?
If you go into the folder that contains the files that are giving you this message,
Yes,
okay, and do a get info,
I did that, and I give myself per document authority, myself,
No, no, no,
everybody.
on
read
the
what?
on the folder that contains it. Because if you do it on the document, that fixes the document. But if the folder isn't giving you privileges, anything you create within that folder, you don't have privileges for.
Okay,
So
so I
check
do
the
the whole
folder.
folder.
Yeah, and you can see if it's basically not showing you as administrative, as owner of that folder. If it isn't, what I would keep going up the chain. Maybe you can go right to your home folder. The best way to fix it globally is go to your home folder, your user folder with your name, and go into the get info, set the privileges to administrative, and there's an option that says assign this to all files within it.
Right.
And it may take it a couple minutes to do all that, but then everything from that home folder down is definitely under your
Okay,
administrative privileges.
okay, we'll work on it. I mean, I can get around it, but it shouldn't be happening. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The
And-
other thing is just an annoyance. I went to Apple and I checked their listing of my devices. Now, I don't know whether all my devices should be listed, but certainly my Mac Mini should be, and it's not. My display, which according to Terry has its own processor, I think should be listed. It's not. I don't know whether my home pod should be listed. It's not. There's no way that you can make a correction on the Apple site on the listing of the devices that you have, except delete them. but obviously you want the other way around.
Well, that list, I believe, is generated by what's logged into your Apple ID. So the display is not going to show up because it doesn't log into the Apple ID. Now, as
It's
far
one
as
Apple
the,
ID. It's
what's
one.
that?
One.
No. What I'm saying is the display is not something that can log into to the Apple ID itself. So that may be why it's not listed. Now the Mac Mini, make sure the name within your system for the Mac Mini is Mac Mini and not your old computer's name.
Well,
'Cause you
that's
were-
not even, I deleted the old computer, so there
no,
is.
no, but if you set up this computer from the old computer, it would have brought up the old computer's name into your new computer. So
Gary?
it may be this computer is being referred to as, an iMac Pro, even though it's a Mac Mini, because it's using the name assigned
But there
to.
is no listing for any computer except my laptop, which is a separate issue. There is no listing for a computer on my list of devices that is either the Mac, the iMac that it was, or it doesn't, no Mac Mini, nothing's shown. It's not there. Not the
Right.
old one, not the new one.
Make
Yeah.
sure location services is turned on the Mini. 'Cause it still should have it there, just wouldn't know where it is.
And George, I checked the computer name. It's not, it's been changed.
Okay,
And I went to what you said was using the name and going to get info. I don't see anything where it says how to take it, ownership. I just see sharing permissions.
right, if you go to, folder here.
Because that's what I know you do for Windows, but I've never
Yeah.
seen it take ownership in a Mac before.
Yeah, sharing permissions, if you look, you should have, the top should be her name, it should be
Right.
read and write.
Right. That we've already done to
Okay.
the whole collection and folders, and it didn't make a change. It's still
And then you
running
applied to closed items. But
enclosed.
there's a little gear at the bottom there. Click on it. One of the options is apply to enclosed items.
I don't see a gear. I see a padlock, but I don't see a gear at the bottom of the get info.
Here, let me show you what
I see the pull down, yeah, the three dots in a circle, and it says apply to close items, but that's grayed
Yeah.
out.
Okay, what I would do is make us a change and change it back on what you
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need to be changed, so it may not see the below it, but some of the ones below it may. So if you go in there and like change the one of the read onlys to read write and then change it back, that should let you then. No, it's doing the revert changes.
All right, folks, I don't want to be taking up your time with this. We can figure this out on our own probably.
Okay.
Check, yeah. The folder right that contains the documents that are giving you trouble, is that folder set correctly?
It was when I set it up last time, when I looked at it last time.
Huh.
Now, there's a bunch of stuff on the internet where you have to go into terminal and actually destroy the administrative collection and then go back in, create an administrator, make yourself an administrator, and then destroy the new made admin. It's a real milk route, but they said it would fix it, but we didn't get to that point. We thought there'd be a sooner collection to fix.
Well, I'm still under Apple Care, so never mind. I'll call the sweet people and get them to fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Update us on what they tell you.
Okay, okay.
Appreciate it.
I will
Alright.
tell them about my list of devices also while I'm at it. In fact, I have a
Yeah.
whole list for them.
She's got her list and checking it twice.
Paid enough money. Remember you said this monitor wasn't built for me, George? Well, it is.
Well, actually, I said the big one, the one with the color. That one definitely was that one was like twice that price, if I remember correctly.
That was 5,000. That's
5,000.
3,000, three
Not
times as
that,
much.
not that one.
So any other questions today?
Well,
Any,
I'm back to one a question that I think Sue has it and I have it. When my watch is on charger and the phone is not next to it or near it, my phone will alert me for a message. When the phone and the watch are within sight of each other, I don't get anything but a vibration on the watch, which is sometimes soft enough that I don't know it. Sometimes I have messages that sit there for hours and I don't know I had them. The iPad doesn't ding. It's an old iPad. The phone doesn't ding and the watch doesn't ding. It just does a little vibration. What in the world can I do to get that to work?
The problem is that what it's doing is whatever device it thinks is closest to you is the one it's using, and apparently the watch must be the one it thinks is closest to where you physically are. I think you probably turn the phone off when it's charging, which would also make it charge faster. That seems to be an extreme option to have to do. Make sure the phone isn't near the watch, I guess, be the only thing, the easiest
Well,
thing to do.
Then I run around like a crazy person when the phone rings to find it. I need it near me. But I have been through every setting. I've done everything that I know how to do, and I cannot get an alert of a message coming in unless the two devices are not near each other.
Let me,
Terry and George are feverishly checking the internet.
It's not real intelligence. It's just how fast you can search, just basically.
and how well you know how to word a search.
That's true. I know Sue has the same thing. She doesn't know I text her and I don't hear from her.
I was just gonna say, we need to fix this because Marguerite yells at me all the time. Why didn't you answer?
When I see Marguerite, if the red messages option is turned on, you should see whether she's actually seen the message or not.
I'd have to look at it. I can
So
always
basic-
connect.
So basically, you're yelling at her for not looking at her messages because you're not looking at yours.
Well, she says the same thing. She doesn't.
Hey, George or
I
Terry,
see
I've
mine
got a
within an hour
question when
at
I
least.
can get into the queue here.
What's that?
I've got a question after you finish with Marguerite.
Well, why don't you ask that while we're looking up the answer to hers?
Okay. And I hate to be an iconoclast, but I have a PC computer. And I come in and I usually, since I'm getting hard of hearing, I usually wear a wired headset. And I came in and turned on my PC computer. It booted up normal. And I put on my wired headset that's plugged into the front receptacle for the headset that's worked every time, and it doesn't work. And I must have hit some switch. I can't believe that I've had a hardware failure in something that hasn't been turned on and off in several months anyway. And what should I check on that to figure out why my headset isn't working?
If it is a headset with a microphone, it's a longer stem with an extra connector. Make sure it is fully seated in the port.
It does not have a microphone. I've got a microphone right here that's a separate kind of microphone. And so I have plugged this thing in about 10 to the 24th times.
Do you have another headset you can test to make sure that it's not, whether it's the port or not?
I have tried that with another headset, but it was the same results,
Mhm.
and I
So
and I must have just turned some switch somewhere, and I can't.
on the PC, you should be able to go into the audio drivers and make sure that the driver is active. Um, it's possible that it got disabled.
Right. Okay.
That'd be the first thing I check.
Yeah.
Because you basically verified that you know, no matter which headphones you put in, it's not working. So it's definitely coming. It's an issue with the PC, not with the headset.
All righty.
Bob,
Yeah.
I'm dusting off my brain for the PC. I do know that under devices or something with the PC, you specify the inputs and the outputs for the sound.
All right.
And so your headphones would be one possibility that they would give you, but the internals of the machine, if you have a speaker built into the computer, that'll be another option. So you have to make sure you're using the correct option, that it didn't flip
All
from
right.
using headphones to anything other than headphones.
All right. I'll check that out.
Yeah, I used to run into situations like this when I hooked up an external sound system, and I had to make sure that it pointed to that instead of the internal PC sound little speaker array.
Right.
It also, if it's a separate board and nothing works, if you try connecting any type of headset or speakers or anything to it, sometimes the driver gets corrupted. You can go into the config and actually erase that driver. Windows will notice that it's missing and reinstall the most current driver, and sometimes that does fix it if it's an actual hardware failure.
All right. All right. Thanks.
They also should have an option to update the driver if there's a newer version.
Right. I think I'll just buy me a new Mac supercomputer.
That's what you need.
Yeah, that usually works. That usually fixes all Windows problems.
Yeah.
Right.
How many
You can
Macs
fix
do you
anything,
have?
you throw enough money at it. So
How many Macs do you have, Bob?
how many what?
Macs do you have?
I've only got my laptop my MacBook Pro, but it's getting kind of long in the tooth. So that's the only Mac I have. But I've got my Apple Watch, and I've got a iPad and all that stuff.
Hey, this is Ken Gassman. I want to go back to something that Marguerite brought up a minute ago, and you answered her. You said, turn off your phone and charge it, and it'll charge faster. I can't get my iPhone to charge that way. If I turn it off and either put it on a magnetic charger or stick the cord in, the phone comes back on automatically. The only way I can turn my phone off and keep it off is to not have it hooked up to anything. Am I doing something wrong?
How did you turn your phone off?
How did I turn my phone off? Yeah. A left button and a right button or something. I don't know. Up here to
And then slide it to power off.
yeah, slide it. Yeah.
That should shut off. It won't turn back on until you hit the power button.
Nope.
Now
If
it'll
I
light
plug
up
it
that it's
in,
charging.
it comes back on.
I've
It's an
never seen
iPhone
that
14.
happen. I've seen that when it's asleep, when you just hit the power sleep button, put it
And
to sleep, but not shut it off.
Can have it plugged in before you shut it off.
Oh no, that's a thought. I hadn't done that.
The physical act of sticking it in there is what I think is causing the problem. So just have it all set up, charging and everything, and then just shut it off.
Yeah. Let me see here. Wait a minute. I can't remember how to turn it off now. It's been
I
so
think you
long.
have to do the volume up and down, and also the other button.
Yeah, that's what I'm
1,
doing.
2, 3, very quickly together.
Oh, there we go. I got it. Well,
Yep.
yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to cancel that. Okay, well, I'm going to do that
Give that
then.
a shot. Yeah.
Hello, I'm new to your group. Thank you for having me. And
Welcome.
I had a heck of a time finding the link to get on the group, and I thought this was great communication group. So why didn't I find that real easily?
Are you on our mailing list, Morgan?
No, I just joined. I mean,
Okay, well, if you like, we can add you to our mailing list.
Mhm.
And then you will automatically get the agenda when it goes out every month. And there is the link as well as the meeting number and the password for the meeting if needed. I didn't need it this morning, but sometimes I do. So if you will send me your email address, we'll add you to the membership list and you'll get the agenda automatically.
okay, that sounds great. And I'll find your email on the webpage for the group.
Yes, you'll find it under treasurer.
Okay.
Okay, it's Marguerite Peterson. And
Okay.
just send me your email and you'll be added on.
Okay.
The agenda is also put on our website too, as soon as it's available.
Yeah, and that's how I finally got in.
Okay, good.
That's the same agenda that you would be getting by mail, probably the same day because Terry is very efficient about that.
And the link is going to be the same. So the tiny URL link that you saw, that'll get you here each month.
Okay, so that doesn't change. Okay. Thank you.
Say,
Not
Terry, I've
anymore.
got one more question for you. This might be up your alley, Terry. I have a couple of what the industry calls cold card wallets. Are you familiar with
No.
any crypto or anything like that? Well,
Go ahead.
why would a cable like I'm holding up here, which has a USB on one end and a micro connector on the other end, not be able to communicate with a given device data wise? How do I get one that works with what I'm trying to do? I've got one that works, but it's only about this long.
Well, they come in different versions. So even though the plug has not physically changed, the wiring within it has changed several times. So that's probably either a micro or a mini USB-B. And some of them could carry power, some of them could carry at different data rates. And unfortunately, the cable does not tell you anything on what version it is. So when you go online and try to order, you have to see which version number that they're doing. And that's why they moved everything to USB-C, is because they now have the ability to actually have this is a different versions, and those versions can do different things.
Yeah. So there's no way to tell whether you're going to just buy cables by the dozen until you find one that works.
Well, of course,
what you would look for is power and data. It'll say data. It
Okay.
doesn't say that it's a data cable. It's just power.
yeah.
All right.
And if you buy new, you're going to get the most current version. But if you
is that an answer to the problem? Just buy the newest, whatever's on the shelf at the time.
You still need to make sure it says data, because
Okay.
they still sell just power only ones.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And that also goes through for the USB-C cables. The ones that come with the phones and the iPads are just power in most cases. So make sure you get a Thunderbolt USB-C cable. That tells you it's data.
I haven't looked at the description on the product sheet that you can read on before you buy it. Does a cable usually have power and data on there?
Nothing is standard. So
Okay.
you could get two cables, one's 10 years old, one's brand new, and you can't tell if they run data and power, what version they're using. You're kind of just you kind of have to mark them yourself when you get them, and the other ones you just use just for power or whatever. You just kind of minimize those, and of course the port, if you're using an older computer, they're backwards compatible. But if you have a 2.0 port, it's not going to be able to run power that a 3.0 port can, even though it's the exact same shape.
Okay. And oh, by the way, Matt, you see these?
Yes, I do.
I got them to work. Thank you guys.
Was it, Terry had posted about the settings for system sound.
I-
Is that what you did?
I didn't read Terry's post, but I took basically what you said and I started looking around in the settings
That's it.
window
Yeah.
and I found something that I had overlooked. And I started noodling around there and going through every option. And I clicked on one and I could hear. So it works now.
Good. I'm glad.
One thing is very important with your cables, buy from a company that you've heard of. 'Cause
Right.
I have gotten cables that were rated as data, the old USB lightning cables, and I was using one to transfer my music from my computer to my phone, and it kept failing. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I thought, well, I wonder if that cable's not right. So I took it and I got this old, beat up, frayed Apple cable. Worked immediately. So even though the cable was rated as data, I don't know if they ever tested it because it wasn't working.
Can you feel comfortable buying a cable from Apple that it would be data and or is there?
Well, if you again, make sure you look at it because Apple does sell the cables that come with the phones are for charging only. Not the new USB-C ones for charging only. It doesn't do data. I found that out when I tried to use one to transfer information from one Mac to another. So you always still want to look, no matter who you're buying from, you want to look for the data rating. But if it's a reputable company, that data rating is all you need. If it's a fly-by-night company, it's hit or miss whether that data rating is actually going to be accurate.
Right. All right.
Adam Savage just did a 30-minute thing on his YouTube channel about all the different cables and what they do and the differences between a $130 Apple cable. I'll put the link in the chat. Very interesting. They used scanning software and microscopes to actually show you all the circuitry and all the thought processes that it went into to make it work. I'll put the link in now. But that made a huge difference on what the difference is between cheap cables and expensive cables.
I've never gone wrong with Anchor, no matter what I've gotten.
Yes,
Yeah, I put
Anchor's a
in
great.
yeah.
Um,
And Monoprice. I've been using Monoprice for 20 years. All their cables are guaranteed for life. Never had a problem.
Marguerite, I did find some information. Doesn't necessarily solve your issue, but it might clarify it a little bit. Basically, if the phone is unlocked, you will get notifications on the phone. If your phone is locked or asleep, the notification will go to the watch.
Well, I get notifications per se. I get them on all the devices, but I'm talking about a text message that does not notify me that it's here, other than a slight buzzing on the watch.
Right. If the watch is locked, it should go to the phone.
The watch is never locked.
Okay. Then
Well,
basically, as soon as the phone goes to sleep, it's going to direct all those to the watch. That's the problem.
Well, just yesterday, a friend texted me, and I don't have a watch, but I have the phone next to my iPad. And I always hear the chimes or the notifications, but I wasn't notified. I mean, I was waiting to hear from this person. And then they came over to the house, and then later on, I went back to my devices, probably the iPhone. And there it was. The message had been sent. It had been received, but there was absolutely no indication, that I got it at the time he sent it. And I've had that periodically about
too.
not getting it. Yeah, not getting
Now, I
it.
have seen delays in getting messages. That's a different issue.
Oh, that's yeah. I have a friend in Florida, and sometimes it's kind of ridiculous about the delays. But I've had this on and off for a while, so I just always consider it to be that notifications isn't working the way it should be.
Right.
And so
I've also seen that the funny thing is that I've seen text messages, not Apple messages, text messages on my phone I'm sorry, on my computer before they showed up on my phone. Yet the phone has to send it to the computer.
That's interesting. I just stopped giving, I sort of gave up on it. It does what it does to do, it's not critical. Usually the communications I'm getting in iMessage, there's nothing life-threatening or anything. So when they mess up a little bit, I just shrug it off as the experience.
I'll keep looking, Marguerite, see if I can find more information, but nothing's popped up yet.
Thank you. Well, I do plan to call Apple one of these days with my long list.
Just about Apple Care, I've got a question. It's been a long time since I've used it. Would they refer you to the local store, which would be in Greenville, I guess, if they can't handle it? Is that part of the Apple Care?
Well, yeah,
environment?
you could get any Apple store or Apple authorized dealer.
Authorized, yeah. Okay.
Because I think Charlotte Street has still a service, and they are authorized Apple service.
I didn't know if you had to get like a dispensation or something to actually go to the store. After Apple tried to do its thing, I don't know if they say, well, there is an Apple store within 28 miles.
Okay, Matt,
please
I
go
have
there.
a partial answer for you. When I first got my phone, I don't know if it was this one last, doesn't matter. Apple Care was not able to handle my problem over the telephone. And they made an appointment for me at Best Buy with the Geek Squad. But I had to be there at a certain time. I was able to tell them when I was available, but I had an appointment at the Arden, I guess, Best Buy, which is the closest one to me, to see the Geek Squad, and that was on Apple's account.
Right.
And you can actually manually go to any of those, whether it be Best Buy or Apple Store itself, and do that. Most of them now have it. They make an appointment so that you don't have to sit around waiting for them.
Sure.
And they know who's coming. It's a win-win for everybody, because you're not sitting there going in there and then find out you have an hour wait. That's no fun.
No. Okie doke.
All right.
Marguerite, just on a personal note, Marguerite,
Sir?
just on a personal note, don't ever recommend that I get an iWatch again. After listening to you this morning, don't ever get on my case for not having one.
95% of that watch is working perfectly. You're going to nail me for 5%?
It's like a life,
You have a birthday tomorrow. Treat yourself.
No, I don't need to do more updates. I'm getting tired of updating all my devices. Just a little banter between good friends here.
That's okay, Matt. My car even updates itself now.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Just wait till your refrigerator starts.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Has anybody made a move from Verizon to Pure Talk, and any consequences?
I've got Mint Mobile.
Yeah.
A few more dead spots than Verizon had, but overall, I'm happy with them.
Yeah. They're all using the T-Mobile and Sprint towers.
Yeah, T-Mobile is what Mint is using.
Yeah. Well, they merged, so they're basically the same company now. So, but you're having all the same difficulties with, no matter what the third parties are, they're all using Sprint and T-Mobile.
Actually, I think some of the third parties are using Verizon, aren't they?
No, I think Verizon's a totally different antenna system. So I think they're just using their Verizon only has access to the Verizon towers.
Yeah. I think I did switch, but not to Verizon, to Cricket. And the only difference was I had to start putting 828 in. I had to put in for every single thing in my contacts. And I think I had, whatever, the one you mentioned. Because it was using the other set of towers that Cricket was using. And, but anyway, yeah, to this day, I still get caught once in a while with that.
Can I switch to consumer cellular and it is considerably cheaper and I have no problems?
Okay, that's good to hear.
I'm paying $250 a year for a 40 gig plan at Mint Mobile. It's a pretty good deal.
That's a good deal, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who was that with,
Mint,
George?
Mint Mobile,
I'm sorry, I'm
Mint,
having
M-I-N-T, Mint,
Mint.
Oh.
Okay.
Mhm.
the Ryan Reynolds one. He bought the company a while back.
George, how
I-
much was it a year?
$250.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been using it for over a year and haven't had any problems. Other than, like I said, the differences in towers. Verizon still works best in the woods, but if you're in any type of town, you usually have no problems with dead spots.
And if you go to Mint, please drop my name because I get referral.
Giant referral
Everybody.
fee.
Do any of those work overseas also?
All of them should to a point. I'm not sure what T-Mobile's plan is. The problem is most of them, the overseas is expensive. Your better option is if you're going to be there for any significant period of time, any more than a few days, go to a local cellular place once you get there.
Right.
Get a SIM card for your phone.
Well, I've used Verizon before when I've been over there, and they have a plan where you don't pay anything unless you use it. And then the day you use it, it's X amount of dollars and you can use it as much as you want.
Very important. Turn off all your notifications. Because if it goes in and just goes to check your email.
Yeah.
So basically, what you want to do is turn off your data until you need it. Because if you, every time it does a little thing, it takes you, charges you for a minute. Doesn't charge you for less than a minute at a time.
It didn't seem to work that way because I didn't get big charges for anything, just if I used it. And I didn't use it very much, but if I did, I texted everybody on the same day. So I was okay.
I had a friend of mine, this is a few years ago. He basically didn't really use his phone at all, but it was, constantly update, you're checking for mail and such. Came home to a $215 bill.
Yeah, has never happened with me when I've used it. I will say that, but I have a couple of trips coming up this year. And so I just wanted to make sure,
But yeah, if you're gonna be there any period of time, the data packages in other foreign countries are so much better than ours and cheaper than ours. If you have a newer phone, like the Mint, my Mint account is on a eSIM, so my SIM card slot is open, so I could do that, pop it in there, and have both numbers active at the same time.
yeah, I don't usually use it. Occasionally I will do something. I just like to have it so that I know it's going to be there if I needed it for some purpose,
Say, does that eSIM counteract the possibility of SIM swapping through pernicious activity and all that?
You can have you can switch eSIMs. I mean, it's a little more involved than just popping the card in. But
is
I'm
it
not sure.
possible for somebody to call up the Mint people or whoever or any of the major people that provide telephone service, wireless, and spoof them into swapping your SIM card out over the phone? And
No, because I had an issue with my phone where it was some reason not recognizing the cellular connection at all, and it turned out to be something in the phone, but it eventually got fixed. But the process of getting a replacement SIM card was a little arduous, and I'm assuming they made it that way so that it makes sure that it's me it's coming to.
right.
So
just us.
Because that can be a real bugaboo.
Say hi to Quinn.
Yeah, it was a pretty involved verification. So yeah, they're probably aware of those kind of things. So they're making sure that it's hard to fake being the person that. All right. Anybody else?
Thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
Yeah, very informative meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next month.
All righty.
Mhm.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.